So today we're going to be looking at 5 steps to wealth no matter your salary. I would encourage you to get a piece of paper and a pencil, or either that or go down into the comments below, not the comments, the description. And you can see the bullet points so you can review these things as you go through each step, because I'm going to give you some tasks to go through with each of the 5, well, at least for most of them. And so you're not going to get a benefit unless you go through it. So if you're listening to it while you're driving or doing something, go back later and actually write these things down. So number 1, figure out what you make. If you work 40 hours a week, but you have a 30-minute unpaid lunch every day, that means you don't earn X number of hours times 40 hours a week. You actually have 37.5 hours. If you have where you actually punch in on a time clock, then go back and look at your pay stubs or your clock hours and look at the average over about 12 to 16 weeks of what you've actually been billing for. If you're self-employed, you have other calculations like billable hours and things that you're having to pay out. So figure out what it is that you make. Remember to account for taxes, city, state, local, FICA, all those kind of things. I typically have used 80% take home as a guide in general, especially with my kids, and when we were making, closer to like the $10 to $15 an hour rate, or when we had a lot of little kids, so we had a lot of deductions. But go back and look at what your income, like your take home income is, divide it by your taxable income. That will give you a number, and then multiply that by the average over the weeks. So do you understand what I'm saying? So if you, let's use an easy scenario. If you earn every week, take home is 300, you're paid 400. That means when you divide 300 by 400, it's 75%. Then multiply 0.75 times your average numbers of hours times your hourly pay to figure out what you make on average per week. Now, typically when I was younger, my stepdad told me to multiply what your earnings are as 4.3 weeks a month. And so I used to do that for my budgeting. Do not do that. Always do it on a 4-week, because it's only twice a year that you get that 0.3, and it used to always mess up my budget because I budgeted on more than I earned. So to make those checks a bonus, if you have 3 paycheck months, if you're paid bi-weekly, then always do it by 4 weeks. So first, figure out what you make. Second, figure out what you spend. I find the most effective way of doing this is I use Mint. I've talked about it before, because you can get your bank accounts and your credit card accounts and your debit card accounts and all your other subscriptions to just flow into Mint, and it shows you everything. If you don't want to do that, then you need to get all of your bank statements for the last 3 to 6 months, whether online or wherever, all credit card statements, all cash withdrawals, and you need to write them down. If you're not going to keep track of every single budget category, even just figuring out how much you are spending, and look at the trend over 3, 6, 9, and 12 months if you can. Again, that's why I like Mint, because I have found out that my biggest spending months are actually February, June, and August. Whereas I thought that it would be like Christmas time, but actually Christmas time isn't too bad because I buy throughout the year. You may find that certain times of the year tend to be your peak months, and that's why you're always finding yourself broke, because you don't know those economic cycles in your own life. So finding out what you spend, if you'd like to break it down and see what you're spending it on, that's a great next step. But for this one, we're just, number 1, figure out what you make. Number 2, figure out what you spend. Number 3, you'll remember a couple months ago, I was talking about The Richest Man in Babylon, that book, and how it changed the way I spend and do things. And he had a 70-20-10 setup. So 70% of what you bring home, you get to use for your living. 20% of what you bring home pays down debt. And 10% of what you bring home, you use to build streams of income. So like investing, buying in currencies, buying real estate property, those kind of things. Yes, over time, 10% can build up to get you to a place, especially when you get rid of the debt and the 10% increases, then you can build streams of income even in real estate. So number 4, learn the difference between earning and wealth. So Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad, he popularized the idea of the fast track being the outer circle. and the rat race being the inside. The rat race is where you live on what you earn each month. The only way you make money is if you are working. Wealth is being able to work or not work and still have your bills paid. I am not one of those people who thinks that pure freedom is not having to have a job. Everyone has a job of some kind. It's not a matter of not working. God blesses us with work, but what kind of work do you want to do and how do you want it paid for? So, learning the difference between earning and wealth, you may make $300,000 a year, but that does not make you wealthy, because if you stop going to work, your paycheck stops. You have higher potential earnings, but you are not wealthy. The person who may only earn $10 or $15 an hour, but who has a stream of income that they've built, like let's say if you're renting an apartment or a duplex. So you're renting a duplex and then you go and you save up and you buy the duplex where you live. And so now your tenant is paying your rent. And so one of your expenses, and I'll be covering this in a future video, but one of your expenses is now in the fast track. Your mortgage is now paid by someone else. Whether you go to work or not, you know that your mortgage is paid because it's paid by that tenant. If you were to move out of that house to a different duplex, then those tenants would be paying your mortgage and then paying something else. And that's how we build up wealth. Wealth is the ability to not be limited by the number of hours you can work, because all of us are limited. And it doesn't matter how much you earn, it's how much you spend. Number 5, create and commit to a plan for wealth building. So in order to become wealthy, no matter your salary, you have to create and commit to a plan to do that. It won't simply happen. So those are my 5 tips. I'll be digging into these deeper, but I'd like to have some of your feedback in the comments below. Share with me some ways that you've seen wealth built or you have built wealth, and we will talk more about this on the next video. I'll see you next time. Bye.